All right, let's do this. Hey everyone, it's me, Danielle, and I was going to share a little bit about a recent out of body and some new artwork. It's directly linked to Edgar Cayce and one of his predictions, prophecies. So I'm going to share a little bit of my notes on Edgar Cayce. He is called the Sleeping Prophet. So Edgar Cayce was born March 18th, 1877 in Hopkinsville, Kentucky. He died January 3rd, 1945 in Virginia Beach, Virginia. He had a ninth grade education and worked as a photographer and Sunday school teacher, not a trained physician, scientist, or theologian. He became known as one of the most documented psychics in American history, giving over 14,000 recorded readings between roughly 1901 and 1944 on topics including health diagnoses, past lives, business advice, dreams, and prophecy. He founded the Association for Research and Enlightenment in 1931 in Virginia Beach, which still operates today and archives all of his readings. Reportedly, he gave readings for notable public figures, including Thomas Edison and Woodrow Wilson. He's called the Sleeping Prophet because Edgar Cayce delivered his readings while lying down in a self-induced trance or sleep-like state, eyes closed, speaking in a different cadence and vocabulary than his normal waking speech. He said he had no memory of what he said once he woke up. A stenographer transcribed the sessions in real time. The nickname stuck because the trance state was central to his method. The information supposedly came through him while unconscious, not from conscious research or training. A striking contrast since Cayce claimed to accurately discuss advanced medical and historical topics he had no education in. His notable prophecies: he predicted the 1929 stock market crash, described the coming of World War II, including naming Germany, Austria, and Japan as key players years before war broke out, spoke in detail about the Essenes and texts later identified with the Dead Sea Scrolls discovered in 1947, 2 years after his death. He made numerous health-related readings that some later practitioners credit with anticipating ideas like the mind-body connection in illness. He predicted future Earth changes, including shifts in coastlines and polar regions, most of which have not occurred on his stated timelines. Now, specifically, the Atlantean holorecords and the Sphinx right paw is what I want to dive into. So starting in the 1930s, Cayce's trance readings described Atlantis as an advanced civilization destroyed in a cataclysm around 10,500 BC. He claimed Atlantean refugees fled to Egypt and helped construct the Great Pyramid and the Sphinx, and that the buried Hall of Records, a chamber containing the complete history and knowledge of Atlantis, to preserve their civilization's knowledge for a future age. Cayce's reading 5748-6 specifically places the entrance under the Sphinx right paw. I guess that's the quote. The direct quote, the connecting chambers from the Sphinx right paw until the time has been fulfilled when the changes must be active in this sphere of man's experience. His readings describe 3 linked Hall of Records sites, one under the Sphinx in Egypt, one on the Yucatan Peninsula, and one that sank with Atlantis itself. Cayce predicted this hall would be found and opened between 1996 and 1998, an event he tied to major spiritual and global change, sometimes described by his followers as linked to a second coming. Worth noting for accuracy, No Hall of Records, Atlantean or otherwise, has been found beneath the Sphinx or anywhere else. The 1996 to 98 window passed through without the discovery. Mainstream Egyptology dates the Sphinx to roughly 2500 BC, built by the 4th dynasty pharaoh Khafra, thousands of years after Cayce's claimed Atlantean construction date. I have some thoughts on this. The Hall of Records claim is considered pseudo-archaeology by mainstream historians and Egyptologists. It has no supporting excavation evidence. Some limited subsurface anomalies and cavities have been detected near the Sphinx over the decades using ground-penetrating radar and seismic surveys, which believers cite as suggestive, but nothing conclusive tied to Cayce's Hall of Records has been excavated or confirmed. So, about the dates of the building of the Sphinx, I do understand that there is a date that was assigned to the construction of the Sphinx. However, I think that they have unburied more of the body of the Sphinx, and it has really indicated that the body is bigger than the head, and that because the sand protected the erosion of the body of the Sphinx, the head got eroded more, and so much so that they carved the likeness of the pharaoh Khafre on the face of where the original Sphinx face was. So that's one thing that I believe has happened, that archaeologists have uncovered, that the dates might be wrong anyway. So who knows? Cayce might be right there. What I do know that they can use all this sound penetrating ultrasonic whatevers they want. They may never find anything under the Sphinx in this dimension. But that doesn't mean that it's not there still. And I specifically went to check it out of body. And I will tell you, it was pretty insane. And I did paint it, which I will show the painting. So I closed my eyes. I have been to the Sphinx before out of body. I went through a different portal that time, which I'll talk about when I maybe create another artwork regarding that. But I painted this one, so I'm going to talk about this specifically. So I found myself next to the Sphinx. And at the time, I didn't even know which paw to look under, but I was on the right side of the Sphinx. And right when I just portaled there, and I was there instantly, I did direct method where I just closed my eyes, went into a quick meditative state, actually very quick meditative state, and I was there. I was just at the Sphinx. This is awake. The Sphinx actually turned its head and looked at me, which tripped me out, because in our dimension, the Sphinx is a rock. It doesn't move. So in this other one, on the astral or whatever level this was, the Sphinx turned and looked at me, and he lifted a paw. So he lifted his right paw, to be specific, and I approached under the paw, and I saw a podium with a book on it. Now, I didn't wander in much. I did see that you could walk through past the book, a hallway, and you could continue through the Sphinx, which I probably should go back and do. I was just tripping out about the Sphinx turning his head in the first place. But I did paint this, okay? So this is an oil painting that I just did last week on gessoed Baltic birch wood in a hexagram panel. It's about 12 inches on the longest sides. So it's not very large. But I did paint what I saw, basically, which was the Sphinx turning its head towards me and lifting its paw. The podium actually wasn't a box on the ground, and it was in the tunnel underneath the paw, not out on the desert ground. But for a composition's sake, I kept it like this. So That's my most recent painting. I haven't painted with oils in years. I mean, 20 years, probably, really. So I'm getting back into oils, and I've always loved painting on wood because I don't love the texture of canvas, the linen texture. It's, I think a lot of artists, they like a lot of tooth for the paint to grab. I prefer smoother surfaces. And even when I use watercolor paper, I'll use Arches watercolor paper, which is really expensive, but I use the backside because it's a little bit smoother. I just don't like that much texture when I paint. I don't know why. It's just my preference. But anyway, I actually worked in a cool little detail here. I put Imhotep's symbol because the shaman, Michael Shaman, he is Imhotep incarnate now, and I put my cartouche also in there a little bit. It's not like really clear, but I know what it is. But I was the Pharaoh dozer. So Imhotep was my advisor back in the day and actually designed the step pyramid for dozer, um, and which I think is one of the first pyramids built, but or at least it's attributed as. So who knows what the real dates on anything are really. When you really factor in erosion, water damage that's on some of this stuff like the Sphinx, I think it just proves that it might be older than what it's been dated previously. And maybe these will be some of the secrets that are disclosed to us about our history, that we've been taught things that are not correct. And so we'll see, right? Only time will tell. But I have gone, I've gone to the Sphinx twice and the Great Pyramid once now, out of body. I haven't painted the other trips, so I don't want to get too much into it. I do know that a friend of mine went to the Sphinx and the other paw lifted for him. So under that one, he found what looked like a pool of water, and which is apparently a stargate to who knows where, another universe perhaps. Um, but I'd love to check that out. Just because you go out of body and you go to these places does not mean you will be granted entrance. So I cannot guarantee that if you go out of body and you go there, the Sphinx will lift the paw that you want or even let you in. So I don't know, as far as that goes, but I'd love to hear if anyone else has wandered around out of body at these places, and if you know where they got in. I will paint the other experiences I had with the Sphinx, and I will do a painting about the Great Pyramid. I did go in there and had a real interesting thing happen in there. And I will paint those as well and share about them. But I just want to make real quick, short little videos about each one, I think, and you know, keep it as brief as possible. But I appreciate that you spent some time with me today watching this. If you've got other information about the Sphinx or any of the portals around the Sphinx, share them in the comments, or any experiences that you've had out of body there. I'd love to hear it. All right. I hope everyone has a beautiful day. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, comment.